Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Native Echo Podcast, where we make English simple and enjoyable. I'm Harper, and today it's just me. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk. So, this morning I was making breakfast, and I caught myself doing something interesting. I was talking to myself in English, just narrating little things. Okay, where did I put the keys? Let me check the bag. Oh, there they are. And I realized I never have to think about those sentences. They just come out. They're automatic. But when someone asks me something a little harder, like, what do you think about this new policy? Suddenly my brain slows down and I'm building every word one by one, like I'm stacking blocks. And that gap, that difference between the automatic English and the slow, effortful English, that is exactly what I want to talk about today. Because there is real science behind why this happens, and there are real things you can do about it. So today, I want to share some science backed life hacks to improve your English speaking. And I want to be honest with you, these are not magic tricks. Nobody becomes fluent overnight. But these are small, practical things that actually work. And most of them are backed by research on how the brain learns language. And there is one big idea running through all of them, and it's called the lexical approach. We'll get there. It might be the most important thing you hear today. But first, let me explain why speaking feels so hard. Because once you understand this, everything else makes sense. When you speak your first language, your brain is not building sentences word by word. That would be way too slow. Instead, your brain pulls out ready made pieces, whole phrases that you've heard thousands of times. Things like, to be honest, or I was just about to, or that makes sense. You don't build those, you just grab them, like grabbing a tool from a drawer. Linguists call these chunks. A chunk is a group of words that native speakers store and use together as one single unit. And here is the thing that changed how I think about language. Research suggests that a huge part of natural speech, some studies say more than half, is made of these chunks. Not grammar rules, not single words, chunks, ready made pieces. So, why do so many of us learn English the slow, painful way? Because we were taught to collect single words. We made long vocabulary lists: word, translation, word, translation. And then we learned grammar rules separately. And then in conversation, we tried to combine the words using the rules in real time, while also being nervous, while also listening to the other person. That is an enormous amount of work for the brain. No wonder it feels exhausting. This is where the lexical approach comes in. The lexical approach is a way of learning language that focuses on chunks and phrases instead of isolated single words and abstract grammar. The word lexical just means related to vocabulary, related to words and phrases. So instead of learning the word decision and then separately learning grammar, you learn the whole chunk: to make a decision, to come to a decision, a tough decision. You learn the word inside its natural neighborhood. Let me give you a clear example, because I think this is where it clicks. Imagine you learn the single word mistake. Great, now you know one word. But can you use it naturally? Maybe, maybe not. Now imagine instead you learn these chunks: to make a mistake, an honest mistake, by mistake. Learn from your mistakes. Suddenly, you don't just know the word, you know how to actually say it the way real people say it. You would never say, I did a mistake, even though that feels logical, because you learned make a mistake as one piece. The chunk protects you from the error. You don't even have to think about it. That is the power of the lexical approach. The grammar comes for free, hidden inside the chunk. You don't memorize the rule, you absorb it. There's a word for that. To absorb means to take something in slowly and naturally, like a sponge takes in water. You absorb the grammar without studying it directly. Okay, so that's the big idea. Now let me give you the actual hacks, practical things you can start today. Hack number 1. Start collecting chunks instead of single words. This is the simplest change you can make, and it might be the most powerful. From now on, when you hear a new word, don't write down just the word. Write down the whole phrase it came in. So if you hear someone say, I'm really looking forward to the weekend, don't just save the word forward. Save looking forward to. That's the chunk. That's the piece you'll actually use. Keep a little notebook or a note on your phone and call it your chunk collection. And here's a small tip that makes a big difference. Write the chunk inside a full sentence that means something to you personally, not a random example, your own life. If the chunk is to be honest, write to be honest, I'm a little nervous about my new job. Now it's connected to your real feelings, and your brain remembers things connected to emotion much, much better. There's a word for that kind of thinking, by the way. We say something is meaningful when it has real importance or value to you personally. Meaningful sentences stick. Random sentences fade. Hack number 2. Use the power of spaced repetition. This one is pure science. Here's how memory works. When you learn something new and then never see it again, you forget it. Fast. Researchers found that we lose most new information within a few days if we don't review it. But, and this is the beautiful part, if you review something just before you're about to forget it, the memory gets stronger and lasts much longer. And every time you do this, the memory lasts even longer than before. That is spaced repetition. Reviewing material at increasing intervals. So you review a new chunk tomorrow, then a few days later, then a week later, then a month later. Each review locks it in deeper. You can use apps for this, or you can just keep your chunk notebook and flip back through old pages every few days. The point is, don't learn something once and walk away. Come back to it. Reviewing is not wasting time. Reviewing is the actual learning. Hack number 3, and this one feels strange, but it really works. Talk to yourself. Out loud. Yes, like I was doing this morning with my keys. There's a fancy name for this. Some people call it self-talk. And it sounds a little silly, but think about why it works. When you speak to yourself, there is zero pressure. Nobody is judging you. Nobody is waiting. Your hands aren't sweaty. So your brain is relaxed, and a relaxed brain learns better. There's actually research on this. When we feel anxious, our brain puts up a kind of wall that blocks new language from going in and coming out. Scientists call this the affective filter. The affective filter is like an emotional barrier. When you're stressed or scared, the filter goes up and language gets stuck. When you're calm and comfortable, the filter goes down and language flows. Self-talk keeps that filter nice and low. So describe your day while you're cooking. Narrate what you're doing while you clean. Plan your shopping out loud. It feels weird for about 2 days, and then it becomes the most useful 5 minutes of your day. Hack number 4, shadowing. This is a technique used by interpreters, people who translate languages professionally, so you know it's serious. Shadowing means you listen to a short piece of English and you repeat it immediately, copying everything. The sounds, the rhythm, the music of the speech, the emotion. You're not just repeating words, you're copying the whole melody. Find a short clip, maybe 30 seconds, of a podcast or a show. Play one sentence, pause. Repeat it exactly, trying to match the speaker. Then the next sentence. The reason this works so well is that you're training your mouth and your ear at the same time. Your mouth learns the physical shapes. Your ear learns the natural rhythm. And again, you're learning in chunks because you're not breaking the sentence into single words. You're swallowing it whole. Even 5 minutes of shadowing a day makes your speech sound smoother and more natural over a few weeks. Hack number 5. Get comfortable with buying time phrases. This is something I wish someone told me years ago. Native speakers do not answer questions instantly. Watch them. Before they answer something a little difficult, they say little things first. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. Well, it depends. These phrases don't carry information. They're just there to give the brain a tiny pause. To stall. To stall means to delay on purpose, so you have time to think. And here's why this connects to everything else. These bind time phrases are chunks too, ready-made pieces. So when you memorize 3 or 4 of them and they become automatic, you've bought yourself 2 or 3 precious seconds in every conversation. And you sound more natural while doing it, not less. Instead of a scary silence, you have a confident little phrase. The silence felt like failure. The phrase feels like control. Now, let me tie a few of these together with one more idea, because I don't want you to leave thinking you need to do all 5 of these perfectly every single day. You don't. The real secret underneath all of this is consistency. Consistency means doing something regularly, again and again, even in small amounts. 5 minutes every day beats 3 hours once a month, every single time. Your brain builds language the way a path forms in the grass, not from one person running across it once, but from the same gentle steps, over and over, until the path is clear. That is how chunks move from your notebook into your mouth. Repetition, low pressure, a little bit every day. And I want to gently challenge something many of us believe. A lot of learners think the problem is, I don't know enough words. So they keep collecting more and more single words, hoping that one day they'll have enough. But you probably already know thousands of words. The problem usually isn't the number of words. It's that the words are sitting alone in your head, disconnected, like strangers who've never been introduced to each other. The lexical approach introduces them. It connects them into phrases that flow. So before you rush to learn 500 new words, ask yourself, am I really using the words I already have in their natural chunks? Often the answer is no. And that's actually great news, because it means you're closer than you think. So here is my question for you today, and I really want you to answer this one in the comments. What is one English chunk you use all the time, without even thinking about it? Just one phrase that comes out automatically for you. Maybe it's by the way, maybe it's I have no idea, maybe it's something else. Write it down for me. I read every comment, and seeing your chunks honestly makes my day. And if you can't think of one yet, that's your homework. Catch one this week. Okay, let me do a quick recap of today's keywords, because we should practice what we preach. Chunk, a group of words that native speakers store and use together as one single unit. To be honest is a chunk. Lexical, related to vocabulary, to words and phrases. The lexical approach focuses on phrases, not single words. To absorb, to take something in slowly and naturally. You absorb grammar through chunks without studying the rules directly. Spaced repetition, reviewing material at increasing intervals so it stays in your memory longer. The affective filter, an emotional barrier that blocks language when you feel stressed and lets it flow when you feel calm. To stall, to delay on purpose so you have time to think. Buying time phrases help you stall naturally. And consistency, doing something regularly in small amounts again and again. So that's it for today. If I could leave you with just one sentence, it would be this. Stop collecting lonely words and start collecting chunks. Learn the phrase, not just the word. Your speaking will change, slowly, quietly, and then one day you'll catch yourself talking to your keys in the morning, completely automatic, and you'll smile. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this helped you, please subscribe to Native Echo Podcast and give this episode a like. It really does help us reach more learners like you. Share it with a friend who is working on their English too. Keep practicing, keep collecting your chunks, stay calm, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye.